Welcome. So today we are talking about first order logic. Some of the materials may be something that you might have seen, or some other part may be a bit more rigorous than the review of the materials that you encounter in first order logic in undergraduate curriculum. First order logic, also called predicate logic or predicate calculus or first order calculus, um, is actually one of the foundations of the languages in AI. Now, before we talk about that, what are pros and cons of propositional logic? Propositional logic is declarative. So we can talk about some partial facts about the world in a very simple proposition. And we can also talk about how these facts can be combined through disjunction and conjunction and negation. And this is different from database or other data structures where you have to specify all the information that holds for that particular state. Okay, in the database, you have multiple columns and the columns has to be filled in, while propositional logic, you can only talk about some partial information. And also the other connectives like disjunction and negation help us to talk about this information in a more general way. And another thing is so-called compositionality. That means if you have two subformulas F and G, the meaning of their conjunction, or maybe also disjunction and other case of using binary connectives, it can be derived from the meaning of the subformulas F and G. Okay, so these binary connectives in propositional logic tells us how to compose certain facts hold about these subformulas. And propositional logic, so these are actually good things about propositional logic. On the other hand, it has some limitation. Now, of course, propositional logic is highly expressive in the sense that all NP-complete problems can be described in propositional logic. But in terms of representing AI problems, there are quite a few limitations. And one of the important things that we are going to talk about today when you go to first order logic is propositional logic cannot express the difference between individuals and relations between individuals. Okay? So for instance, you cannot say peace goes breezes in adjacent squares. Because here, in order to describe this thing, you have to know the object piece and squares and adjacency between the squares. Those are the individuals and relations. Now, in propositional logic, everything has to be fact has to be represented by an atom. So you cannot describe these relations of individuals. So in order to do that, you can do that in the sense that you can write instead of say that there's a relation of adjacency between the squares. In propositional logic, you have to actually enumerate all adjacency of the squares as an atom. Okay, so each of the squares you have to specify one propositional sentence. It's quite tedious to do. So propositional logic here we studied assumes the world only contains about facts that can be true or false. But the first order logic, like natural language, assumes that the world contains objects, relations, and functions. So these are the building blocks of first order logic. So what are the objects? Objects are something that you can name as individual, okay, or something that present as an object in the real world, like people, houses, numbers, theories, colors, baseball games, and so on. Okay? And relations is about the relationship between the two objects. So, or you can actually talk about relation of single object as well. So something like red. Red is a relation on the object. Round, bogus, prime, Okay, these are actually unary relation. Okay, so set, you can think about relation as a set. Okay, so these are the set of the prime numbers or set of round object and so on. Or you can talk about relation as a set of um, pairs of object. So like brother of, or bigger than, okay, part of, okay, has color, owns, comes between. Those are all the relations. And also we can talk about functions which can be built on object. So instead of just having to name individual object, you can actually use functions to to populate another object. So you can say father of something, best friend, okay, one more than, and so on. So here, let's start with some more rigorous definition of first order logic. So what is a first order signature? So remember in propositional logic, signature consists of two kinds of symbols. There were function constant. I'm sorry. In propositional logic, there were only one kind, which was just an atom. And first order logic has more richer ontology of signature. So it has two kinds of symbols. One is called function constants, and the other is called predicate constants. And they actually look alike. They can actually take argument, and the number of argument is called arity. Okay, so each of the function constants and predicate constants is associated with arity, some non-negative integers. So it starts with 0, and function constants of arity 0 has some special name called object constants. Likewise, predicate constants of arity 0 are called propositional constants. So the function constants are something like arithmetic function like plus, or if for the object constant is a special case of function constant. So if you have some object constant a, that's also function constants. Or you can have father of a, where father is a function that has one argument. So it's arity 1 function constants applied to arity 0 constant function constant a. Okay, so father of a is also a function constant. Now, I'm sorry, father is actually function constant, and father of a is actually a term. So this is actually a mistake.